Yeah, no, I feel very lucky to have a toe in each of those oceans in my career, and I enjoy it. I've spent about half my career on public sector and half on commercial side. Um, there's a lot of similarities, but there's also differences. I mean, there's the things that I think everyone would expect from the outside. You know, selling to government, you have longer timelines in your sales cycle. You have more rules, and the rules are more complex. We often try and tell, you know, when we were training our sales force and government side, you have two sales cycles. You have to work with the customer to develop the need and requirements, and then you whole another sales cycle navigating the contracting process. So I think that's one of the big differences. You know, when you're selling with government or education, there's very strict procurement rules. For example, right, when a government agency is looking to actually finally purchase a product and there's a formal bidding process, they can't actually talk to the sales team. They can't interact. There's a quiet period when something goes out for bid. But beyond those things that I think most people know, there's just a lot of different things that are just inherently different in how kind of government agencies operate. For example, staff is constantly changing roles. Or if you work in the Department of Defense, job rotation is built in by design. That's for their resiliency, that folks rotate jobs, so that they get diverse experiences and can fill in different roles. So you really have to develop a lot of expertise if you're going to sell into government, everything from knowing the language, like understanding all the three-letter acronyms, to understanding there's a lot of regulatory and compliance issues that you must adhere to if you're going to sell into that market. Extremely complex contracting, and it's all driven through the channel. You must have a great channel ecosystem to transact with the government. You also have then changing priorities when there's an election and a new administration comes in, and so you may be working on a project for a while, but that project is no longer a priority. And then you have to pay attention to legislation and what's going on with Congress and funding, whether it's state funding or federal funding. But the beauty of that, almost all of that info is public information. So if you're willing to do the work, you can access a treasure trove of information on your client base that you don't get access to when you're selling to private companies. You get some information, but you're getting the budget, you're getting spending priorities, you're getting legislation that may impact or be mandates. But I think for the people who sell to government, what's really interesting is that it's all about the mission, right? You know, there's various motivations for private companies and why they make decisions. When you're selling to government, especially, it's about how do you support the mission. If it's the VA, it's all about healthcare and serving our veterans. And so, if you can help them deliver on their mission better, your project's going to get attention. Versus, you know, why are they partnering with you? And I think that's probably one of the last things that's really important if you talk to any organization that's thinking about selling into public sector, is that many vendors try, but few succeed. And because it is a long game. And so if you don't do all the things I just talked about, understanding the regulatory and compliance rules, understanding contracting rules, understanding their priorities and legislation, you're going to be seen as an outsider. And so, you know, government folks work really hard, and they are also time poor. And so when they meet a vendor and talking about a product, if you can't talk to those language and show you have expertise in those areas, from everything from regulations to legislation to their budget and their priorities, you're going to quickly be seen as an outsider, because there are vendors where they come and go in their approach on public sector. But when you're serious about it and you've done your homework, they're going to realize, hey, this person really is committed to public sector and my success. And it becomes a long-term partnership. And that's one of the things I've loved about my time in public sector, that there's an amazing community, whether it's partners and the customers and the vendors that are serious about that market, but you're also making a huge impact. And you know, through the pandemic, just the number of success stories we've had at Splunk on helping sure that unemployment checks flowed to people who needed them, that veterans got access to healthcare, that students were able to keep attending university during COVID. You can have a tremendous impact on the world.